You spent the entire year of 2018 working on your hands. 2019 means it's time to put them to work. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back. Haven't seen y'all in a bit. Hope you had a good holiday, good Christmas, good New Year's, all that stuff. It's 2019. Last year, 2018, was the year of the hands. This year, it's time to put them to work. I decided that the focus for this year is going to be helping you develop your drum soloing ability, because personally, I believe that every drummer, regardless of whether you ever plan to play one in front of an audience or not, should learn how to solo. Soloing is actually, in my opinion, one of the best ways to practice on the drums, because it's the one thing that you can do on the kit that maxes out all of your abilities at the same time, right? So it's like taking your car to the track on the weekends. So you're working on your technique, your musicality, your coordination, everything, all of it at the same time at the highest level. So that is what we're going to focus on in 2019. This lesson is the introduction. Consider this drum soloing 101. So in this one, we're going to talk about all of the different components that's in a drum solo, and because I want you to get familiar with everything that we're going to talk about this year, and eventually work on and develop one at a time. So I'm looking forward to it, man, because I'm pretty sure by summer, fall, I'm gonna hear a lot of success stories from everyone out there that is now able to play a decent solo. All the stuff they used to be intimidated about before, done. I'm hopefully gonna be able to demystify all of that stuff so you're no longer intimidated by playing solos. Now, in this first introductory lesson of this entire series, I want to break down drum soloing, completely deconstruct it down to all of its individual parts so that you understand exactly what's inside of these types of things, so that later on, when you start to develop your own thing, you're not only going to be able to play these solos, but you're going to understand everything that's behind them. All right, so there are 4 different types of drum solos that we normally play, and we're going to be covering these 4 throughout the course of the year. So if you want to take some notes, we'll start with number 1. First one is freestyle. The freestyle solo is basically just you on the drums, just making stuff up. So you're pulling out whatever chops you got and organizing them in some kind of way, and you're just blowing all your chops, just you on the kit. There's generally no rhyme or reason or specific organization to what it is that you're doing. You're just up there and you're just blowing. The second type of solo is called the motif. The motif is a little bit more of a musical type of thing. And that basically just involves, you're playing at some point some sort of a rhythmic phrase or something, rhythmic or melodic phrase, that every once in a while during the solo, you refer back to. So the idea is to sort of just build on top of musical ideas while you're playing. The third type of solo is called the comp. The comp is basically what you heard off the top, actually. So you're just playing over sort of a looped melodic phrase or something that the band is playing, or maybe it's a sequence type, like a drum loop or something like that. And you're just soloing on top of music. And then the fourth one, the last one, most popular in jazz, bebop type stuff, is the trade. So you're trading fours, trading eights with a piano player or a bass player or whatever. So you're basically just kind of organizing all of your thoughts in 4 or 8 bar phrases. So we're going to touch on all of these throughout the course of the year. It's not really required of you to learn all of them, but if you want to become a little bit more of a versatile type of drummer, it's a good idea to learn all 4 of them. Now, whenever I'm teaching on the topic of soloing, I generally like to break soloing down to 6 individual components. So if you're taking notes, again, write these down because these are going to be totally relevant for you later. So the first one is the subdivisions. Everything starts with the subdivisions. When you strip away all of this, all you're left with is the alphabet. So that's component number 1. The second one is the sticking. The sticking is what you apply to the subdivisions, how you play them. So it's different combinations of generally just singles and doubles getting around the kit. Third component is dynamics. Your dynamic range, loud and soft. This is what adds emotion and tension to the solo. So when you listen to drum solos with 0 dynamics and everything's way up here, you don't really feel it that much. It's always a good idea, I think, to compare drum soloing to public speaking. It's the same thing, right? So if you get on a mic in front of an audience and from the jump, you just start yelling at them for 5 minutes, it's the same thing. So you want to add dynamics. You want to add softer notes, louder notes for emphasizing a point, punctuation, stuff like that, right? Use of space, that kind of thing. The fourth component is orchestration. Orchestration is basically what you're going to use in front of you to say what you want to say. So the amount of drums you got sitting in front of you is obviously going to affect your orchestration, your options to say what you want, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make your solo any better or any worse. The fifth component is rhythmic concepts. So these are the things that you pick up along the way, stuff you learn like odd time playing, note groupings, beat displacement, all that kind of stuff. It's not necessarily a mandatory thing to stick in your solo, but it's just another component that once you learn it, you can take advantage of it and make your solo a little more interesting. And then the sixth one, which I think is the most significant, is your personality. So your personality is going to determine what you do with the first 5 components that we talked about. So this is the one that's going to help you develop as an individual. This is what makes Dave Weckl sound like Dave Weckl, and Steve Gadd sound like Steve Gadd. Like when you hear these drummers, Keith Carlock, another one, when you hear these drummers, you know it's them as soon as you hear them. So I'm not going to be able to help you there. Your personality is your personality. However you deliver a line is how you deliver a line. But don't forget, man, it's completely up to you to determine how you're going to say whatever you're going to say and whatever situation that you're in. Now, the effectiveness of all of that stuff is going to be determined by two things: the size of your vocabulary and your technique. So you can be severely limited in what you say and how you say it, depending on the level of each one of these two. So that means you constantly have to be working on your technique to make sure that's always at 100%, and you always have to be building on your vocabulary. The larger your vocabulary, the longer you'll be able to speak without repeating yourself over and over again. So let's just talk about subdivisions for a second. Whenever you hear any type of drum solo of any one of your favorite drummers, it's super easy to get completely intimidated by what they're doing, like especially if it's completely full of chops. The thing to remember when you listen to any drum solo, again, when you strip it all down, it's just subdivisions. Now, I don't want to diminish the art of soloing in any way, shape, or form, because it is definitely an art to it. I mean, when you listen to guys like Weckl and Simon Phillips and Peter Erskine and like any one of the masters, like when you listen to them solo, you can hear that there's definitely an art to it. Actually, I can't leave out Steve Smith. Like watching Steve Smith solo is like watching a Rolls Royce drive by in slow motion. But all of that stuff can be broken down to the subdivisions. So your first step on your way to becoming a good soloist, you first have to be comfortable making music with just subdivisions. How good can you sound on a practice pad? Because if you can sound good on a practice pad, then you'll be able to sound good in a kit. Consider what just happened here. If you can make that much music on a non-musical surface, then imagine what you could do when you got a full kit in front of you. I mean, if that little example didn't really show you anything else, it should at least show you that music doesn't happen here. It happens here. The drums are really just a vessel. It just kind of helps you add a little bit of color to what you already got in here. So that's hopefully what we're going to develop this year for you guys. I'm getting a little bit excited too, because I know for last year, I was working just as hard as you guys were, and my hands obviously showed, at least to me, as a result. So it's going to be the same this year, man, because I'm going to be forced to keep my game up and learn some new things while I'm teaching you guys some new things. So yeah, I know by the fall or next Christmas, my soloing is going to get better. I'm hoping yours is too. So stick around, man. This is going to be a fun year. If you enjoyed last year, you're really going to dig this year. So one thing I do want to point out, man, this year, if you're willing to stick it out, is going to require some educational material. I have a play-along track album out that's called Solo Comps for Drummers. This is a full album of original tracks, each around 5 minutes long, and they're just melodic phrases that loop over and over again for 5 minutes. These are tools that I created specifically for you to practice your soloing and improvisation over. So throughout the course of the year, I'm going to be recommending some tracks off of this album for you to practice over. There's a few different styles. There's some Latin stuff on there. There's some jazz stuff on there. Just some really simple, basic melodies that will serve as really cool practice tools while you're working on your improvisation. So consider that a recommendation and a requirement for this year. Link will be in the description box to go grab it. It's on iTunes. It's pretty much anywhere you can download music. So make sure you go grab that. Keep working on those hands because you're definitely going to need them for this year. Thanks for watching this video. Share it if you dig it. Hit that notification bell so you know when the next video is coming out. Like, subscribe. See you next video.